Hello, I'm Chris Kazian, Fire Chief of the Sedona Fire District. We all live in a wildland-urban interface area. That's where the homes and the forests all come together. Wildfire preparedness is an important focus of living in this wildland interface area. The purpose of this video is to provide you and your family with important information so you can protect your home and our community.
We all know the devastating effects of wildfire. In fact, we're here on location in Oak Creek Canyon where the slide fire occurred in 2014, burning roughly 23,000 acres. But we've been fortunate within the Sedona Fire District. We haven't had the devastating impact that some of our neighbors, such as California, have had due to wildfire, where they've lost homes, businesses, historic structures, and even lives. But history tells us a different story. It's not a matter of if wildfire will happen in Sedona, but it's a matter of when. So the goal of this video is to help you with the resources and tools so that you can prevent wildfire, and also you know how to prepare yourself and your family when wildfire happens.
It's most understandable to people if you start out with something that's smaller in size, maybe something, a place they live,
Right.
and they think of their 10th acre or 2/10 acre as their property, that's what they're responsible for. But it's really their greater landscape that they need to be engaged in.
Sure.
You know, we all share an interest in sustainable wildlands that are diverse, full of birds and butterflies and wildflowers and all of that. But to keep that in a healthy condition with a more or less natural fire regime and gradually bring it down to the individual houses, the rest of the city that we cherish, you have to think big.
Sure.
You have to act, you know, here and out there, but you got to think big and in the context of landscape scale fire. Now, talking about what a fire is going to do in here, let's scroll forward to late June. We're standing here, it's 102 degrees. We got a 20-mile-an-hour wind going on and a lightning start. You know, maybe it's a cigarette butt, a lightning start, maybe it's a campfire that's unattended. Sure. It could be a variety of things. And the fire is going to start out, you know, creeping. Yeah, I can see a cigarette butt, for example, right in here. And this whole little patch of chaparral would start burning, and then it would just, big flames would begin. And then it gets up into the canopy of this juniper, and then firebrands drop down into the manzanita, and it catches on fire. And then that catches on fire. There's a bunch of dead manzanita on there. And this would, a fire that starts right here could go all the way up over the hill through this vegetation and be self-sustaining.
The Sedona Fire District has firefighters stationed throughout the fire district to respond in the event of a wildfire emergency. But those firefighters need your help. You can help those firefighters better help you in the event of a wildfire by taking some simple steps to protect your home and your family from a wildfire. Some of those things to think about is, have you applied defensible space to your property? Have you made a list of items that you would need or feel you need to take in the event that you only have a few minutes to leave? And last but not least, are you prepared in the event of a wildfire?
Hi, Rosemary.
Hi. Welcome.
Good to see you again.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
This is Aaron Green. He's a district forester with Arizona Forestry.
Nice to meet you.
Good.
Spread out like that on the ground, we would want to at least buffer around this tree a little bit.
Yeah.
It's kind of coming up under the eaves. That kind of is an opportunity for fire to get underneath the eaves. And so if heat from a wildland fire gets underneath there, it just stays there and starts to cook. And so it's pretty concerning. I'm not a big fan of this stuff. It's really volatile.
Unfortunately, I planted that.
But
One little plant here, and look how far it's gone.
And it does that. There, but that's a beautiful tree, right? And we could really emphasize it, and it would get a lot more of those nutrients that all these other shrubs are stealing from it. So I would want to emphasize that tree by removing some of this, but I definitely want to assure you that we can do that and still leave some stuff right along the edge to kind of create that privacy barrier in between you and me. So we're making sure to do exactly what we need to do and not taking anything extra out at the process. And what we don't want is the clumps of brush to be right underneath a tree to create ladder fuel. Right. If there's an opportunity to limb up the pinions a little bit, we're going to go ahead and do that. Well, in just about a day, we've created a lot of really good defensible space. We effected a dramatic change in the landscaping of this house to turn it into a structure that would be considered savable in the event of a wildland fire. By removing some of this material away from the house, creating defensible space, it creates opportunities for firefighters to do their job and to keep the spread of the wildland fire from impacting homes and residences in the area.
Again, it's a community problem, you know, and the community has to participate in getting this done. There are contractors that will come in and do fuel treatments around your house. It's not that expensive. It's a good investment to do that sort of thing. I would suggest that it would be best to become educated about what needs to be done, and that the person that you hire, the company that you hire, has good experience in the FireWise approach to protecting your land. But that's an investment. That's what you do as a homeowner. You know, if you don't do that, then you cannot expect to get everything that you treasure out of that house before it burns down.
So 6 months have gone by since the crews were here. Obviously you saw your home before all those guys showed up. You saw the work they done. You know, I'm sure you were impacted by looking out there and seeing how much stuff got cut back, but also now 6 months later. So how do you feel about it today?
I'm pleased. It's made things somewhat easier for me to have a lot of that thick stuff out of the way. I can walk around more. I've seen some ground that I never saw because when I bought this property 30 years ago, those bushes were all over some areas. I never got to see them, but I think it's good. I still see lots more that I'm wanting to do as some of this grows back. Then the bushes that you didn't trim, I want to cut back some because they're too tall. So it's definitely going to be an ongoing job to keep it. And
that's very important, and I'm glad you stated that, because you know, this is like one of the nice things about living out here. We know everything's going to grow. So as we do that, as we treat the property and we cut back, and then we know it's going to start to grow back. And so part of it is just you know, working in that area, identifying it, and you know, that's one of the things that I encourage, is that starting close to the home, keep working out, and it's going to be an ongoing project, and that's a good thing, and it's a great point. Defensible space. Most people think of defensible space as it applies to their home and their property, but let's see how a firefighter thinks about it. As we stand at this intersection, you can see that we clearly have clear access, good width, road width, and the ability to turn around. That's very important. The other issue that comes into play is that we've got good street signs. And as we walk this neighborhood, we also see that they have house numbers posted. Why is this important? Well, during the 2006 La Bronca and Brins fire, during the slide fire, we had trucks, I call it a rainbow of colors, from all over the country that ended up coming to help us suppress the fire. These folks are not familiar. So by having street signs, by having house numbers, it allows those folks to be able to properly respond, get to the right areas in a timely manner. That's why it's critical. So we've looked on what the firefighters are looking for outside the home, before they get to your property. The roadway, street signs, house numbers. So now we've entered the property. As I walk down the driveway, I start to look and I say, how and where is this vegetation? What needs to be dealt with? What needs to be cleaned up? What needs to be trimmed back? So as we look over here, we see this very old, unique looking pine. But you can clearly see where it's been trimmed up. So if fire's on the ground, fire's going to have extreme difficulty getting up into the tree. The bark on this tree will protect it from a fire. We just want to make sure that we don't add to that, because the bark can break down. As we look around, we can see some of the vegetation needs to be taken care of. Some of the bushes need to be trimmed up. The area needs to be kind of reevaluated again. But from a starting point, this is a great place to start, and this is clearly defensible. As I proceed to walk around the home, I'm approximately 30 feet away. Some of the things that I'm looking for is these light grasses that we have here. Light grasses dry out quickly. Not uncommon. On a Friday, they're nice and green. On Monday, they're brown. Fire gets into this, it's going to move quite quickly. This is something that we want to cut down and keep trimmed down. That makes it more difficult for fire to come from somewhere else into your home. As I continue to move around the home, I notice that the area immediately adjacent to the home is well kept. It'll take minimal amount of effort prior to fire season to clean this out, because remember, embers is what we're concerned about. If we leave a lot of vegetation here that's dry, or leaves and broken limbs, then what happens is that becomes some fuel for the fire. We want to eliminate that fuel. We can look at the gutters. These gutters are all clean. That's great. And again, it makes it so they function when the monsoon comes. But it also is important that we don't get embers into them. Again, giving opportunity for that fire. As we look across the roof, they've got a good solid roof. It's non-combustible. It's clean. This is a plus. Again, another good point. Helps make this home, maybe like your home, more defendable. We have fireplaces, wood stoves that are vented. If we look at the roof behind us, we'll see where there's two. Clearly one is more active than the other. When you look at it, you can see creosote buildup, not visible from here. Do they have it so that it's screened? Yes. Even though during fire season it's going to be warm, you probably wouldn't be using the stove. Think about it in the off season. A lot of people think that actual fire season is just during the summer months when you hear about it. But think about what the terrain looks like in January. When we haven't had a lot of rain, things have dried out. The benefit? We don't have those high temperatures, but we still have that potential. Not uncommon for us to have a wildfire during the winter season. On most flat roofs, most people can't see what's on their roof. Once a year, prior to fire season, you or your maintenance person needs to get up there and take a quick look. Let's clean that dead vegetation and that debris away. We don't want it to be a nest for a potential fire on your roof. As you look over here, you can kind of see in this one corner of the property on the house, you can kind of see where we have that scenario where we've got the droppings, they're on the non-combustible roof, and they've worked their way into the gutters. So this is an example of where maintenance is important. So this is an example where the homeowner has been proactive, and this is where they've all cut back this vegetation. So you can see how short it is, but you can see where it's starting to come back. Here's where it's been a while and it's too high. This is an area that needs to be treated. This is an area where it needs to be cut back. Behind us here, we can see where some of the vegetation was cut back. It needs to have more trimming. We can see where some of the green growth is starting to come back. The idea is, can we get in there? Can we clean it? If we can get in there and clean it, then it works. Remember what we're trying to accomplish. We want to make it difficult for fire to progress from the grasses into that vegetation. Many homes have the wood pile. This particular home uses a wood stove as their primary source of heat. It's sitting out here. It's in a corner of the property. It's at least 50 feet away. Good place for it to be. It does, however, again, there's light grasses. You're going to hear the light grasses, the light fuels. This is what we need to clean up, making it difficult for fire to get into this wood pile. There's also times when you do your cleanup. Where do you put your debris? some cases you can make arrangements for it to be hauled off right away. Sometimes you build up piles so that you can work with it, so that you can then easily dispose of it. Here's an example where you can see the homeowner has been proactive, keeping the cut limbs and debris away from the house in an area that at least is relatively clean. The good thing is here, when this all gets cleaned up and it all goes away, all this area will be raked up and all this debris will be gone. So we've completed our assessment. I've walked around the home. This home, which is our case study, was done approximately 6 months ago. It's 100% better than it was when we first arrived on the scene and did the initial assessment. But even so, there's still some work that needs to be done. But the amount of work that needs to be done is substantially less than it was 6 months ago. So before fire season, we'll encourage this homeowner to walk around the property, point out some of the issues. Use this video to go, here's things that I can do to improve my home's survivability in the event of a wildfire. So my question to you, how's your home?
Thanks for watching this presentation. Sedona Fire cares about your safety and our community's safety. We hope you can implement some things you've learned today, and we'd like to say a special thanks to the Arizona Community Foundation for your help and support in making this grant possible.